Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Sean with Manly Made Minute, and today we're going to do my first video as guest designer for Anthony's Papercraft, and I have decided to go big and bold and super fun for my first video. So stick around and we'll get started. Okay, welcome back. So today's card, I have decided since spring is here, I'm going to go big, bold, and beautiful. So we're starting out with super bright flowers, zinnias. So I'm going to use, one of my last videos where I got all the stamp supplies and things from Anthony's Papercraft that he had sent me, and went through all of the stamps that he had given me to start. I'm going to start out with this pack. This is called Stacy's Zinneas. This one was one of the first ones I grabbed, and I thought, I have to start with this one. I had ideas with this one right away. I wanted to do some layering from the corners out with this stamp, and so I thought, I just have to start, because zinnias are bright and they're beautiful, and what perfect time to start for spring. So let's go to my down camera, and well, before we do that, I'm going to do a colored pencil technique on this one. And it's not going to be with GAMSOL. I have decided I wanted to do a technique to see if I could do something similar to what they do with Copic markers or alcohol markers in general, where you do the dark, you blend it out with the next color, and so on. But with the colored pencils, knowing that colored pencils are wax, and the only way to blend that out is with GAMSOL, is I'm going to go bright, and I'm going to go super waxy on my pencils. I'm going to do the same concept that you would do with alcohol markers. I'm going to do in layers of 3, and I'm going to use the wax itself to soften out my edges. But the goal behind this is I want a super waxy, bright surface with that same similar kind of shading that I would get with an alcohol marker. So I will show you what I mean. It's in layers of 3. I'm going to use a light, a dark, and a medium pencil and blend those out, and we'll show you. So let's go to my down camera and we'll get started. Okay, so again, this is the stamp set that I'm going to use. It is called Stacy's Zinneas. I'm going to put a link to this website, to Anthony's Papercraft website, with the location of this stamp set in my description below, just so that you have it. If you're interested, head on over to his website, check it out. This is a photopolymer, clear photopolymer stamp set. His photopolymers are really high quality. They're very thick. They've got some substance to them, but a ton of fine detail. A lot of his stamps have very fine detail, and you'll see when I stamp this one out, the detail that you get from these flowers to color these in. So I'm going to use this corner stamp, and then we're going to cut a section of this out to layer this up. I've seen some layering with some cards lately. I've done it with some birthday cards for some friends just to test it out before I did this with the zinnia. So let's get started. I'm going to stamp this first, and I pre-cut all of my paper for you. Just, we don't need to waste time kind of showing you paper and cutting the paper. So I'm going to do an A2 size card. This is an A2 size, or fits on an A2 size. What I'm using for this one is, this is a 5 1/8 by 3 7/8, and I'm going to put all of my dimensions in the description for you too. And then we're going to stamp the zinnias in the corner of this. So I'm going to put this right in the corner of my Misty. And we're going to put this right in the corner. Doesn't matter which corner, obviously, because you're going to rotate, to what you need. So I'm actually going, not sitting on the paper, I'm going to go off the paper in both directions because I want kind of a bleed off. I don't want that definite cutoff. This stamp kind of has a definite cutoff, and I'm going to break this cutoff when I cut this out. But I just want to bleed off on this. So make sure that's nice and tight. I am going to stamp this with archival ink, jet black ink, just so I get a nice crisp line on this. I did test this with a gray to do kind of like a no line color, watercolor kind of thing, just to see if it would soften it. It does. I have a sample I'll show you here when we get there. I've made a whole bunch of set of cards with this, plus a sample with the gray, just so you can kind of see it with not such dramatic line. Something in there. I will say, if you are not a person that's a colorer, you don't typically color, don't be afraid to do this. It's not that hard. It's actually pretty easy if you just remember light, medium, and dark concept and shading. The cool thing with this stamp is I follow the lines that the artist put on here as my shading spots, which makes it super, super easy. That looks pretty good for one stamp. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So hopefully you can see this. I use my GoPro for my down camera, so I can't zoom in. But I'll give you a good shot here once we get there. So this is the zinnias right in that corner. Now first thing we're going to do is now I'm going to cut out a section of this. I can color the whole thing, and I got variations that I'm going to show you here at the end. But I'm going to cut this out, and I'm just going to color my middle piece on this one for my colored layer. And I have already gone through. What I do is I have just a stitching die that I'm going to cut out this like a little picture frame out of this. What I did, because I made these in bulk to test this out, I made a template of this same size and then just set that in there as my template to make it easy to cut out. If you're going to make a set of these or something, I would highly suggest making a template. That way they all look the same and all line up. So let me just cut this out. And I will typically line this up, and then I'll tape this down a little bit over the edge, and then I will inlay this little template, and you can kind of feel it kind of snaps in place, and so you can kind of feel it once it's in place. So you can just feel it. All right. And I'm just putting a little extra shim in there. My big shot's in need of a new one, actually, but all right. And then we'll just peel that off. So that is my template. All right, so now you can see, I tore that a little bit, but we'll cover that up with my layers. All right, so now you can see that I have two pieces here. Oh, sticky tape. All right, so I just literally cut this little piece out, and I'm gonna color this small piece and leave this as my back shadow. So I'm gonna set that aside. This is what we're going to color. So I already went through and pre-picked my colors for this one, but let me just show you. The ones I've been coloring with are these bright spring kind of colors. Google zinnias, there are all kinds of colors and shading and stuff on them, and that's kind of what I just found a picture online, picked out colors from that picture. I went through and again, I am using Craola colored pencils. These are the only ones I use own right now, so that's what I use. I have gone through now and picked out my pairs of threes with a light, a medium, and a dark. Same light, medium, and a dark. And I'm going to use that as my concept of shading. what I have done is I have started out, I'm going to just grab a lighter pencil here. I start out on the outer edge of that petal with my lightest color. Then I go back down to the inside edge of that petal, and then I do the darker color. So let me kind of see, hopefully you can see this. Move my light a little. Outer edge is my lightest, inner edge is my darkest. Then I take my medium and I blend between the two. And then I use the dark, and all these little fine details on this stamp, if you can see it, there's little fine detail. I use that as my shading for my dark, all right? So here's the other thing with this. You're going to want to use really hard pressure to get it waxy. When I did these, I'm gonna show you my one sample. This is the one I did with gray, not my archival inkjet black, so I could get kind of that no line kind of soft kind of feel. But if you feel this, it is super waxy and smooth and shiny, and that's what I wanted. I just, you want that really waxy kind of feel to this. If I spilled something on this, it'll just bead right off. It's that waxy, all right? So that's that one sample. This is with just a gray ink. I use a gray Catherine Pooler slate or something like that, stamped it, then colored this in just so it wasn't these harsh black lines, but I did black lines for camera for tonight. So I'm gonna start with my bigger flower. So I've got a bigger flower here, two little ones, and then I've got a littler one there. I'm gonna start with this bigger flower, and that one's gonna be pink. So I have 3 shades of pink. I'm gonna start with my lightest shade, and I'm gonna go around the edges of the outside edges and zigzag jaggedy. So I'm gonna do a couple petals, then I'll kind of show you, and then I'll probably just color and speed this up. And then as I get closer to the end, I'll come back. But let me get a couple petals done. So what I do, I'm gonna just do the bigger ones here. Now, I am pushing pretty hard. I will tell you, if you don't break some tips of your pencils, you're not doing this hard enough. I sharpen these, I can guarantee you I'm gonna break a tip or two off of these nice sharp pencils. But you gotta do this pretty hard. And then get kind of jaggedy. Sometimes I'll go down the one edge just to give it some shading. I'm gonna do a couple more, and then I'll get this close so that you can see. And I'll do these first couple, the light, medium, and dark, so you can kind of see it. But, okay, so there's 3 petals with the lightest on the edge, and you can see it's zigzaggy. It's not a definite line. Now I'm gonna do those same 3 petals with my dark. So I'm gonna skip that medium, and I'm gonna go straight to the dark, down in the bottom, right, kind of from that center, coming up. And I am using, there's little black dots, if you can see them, kind of accenting that petal. I'm gonna come up those with my dark. So jaggedy in that middle, and then lines up on those. And then, do the shadow. Oh, see there, I broke a pencil. And do that shadow that would be underneath a petal. And then where it's really dark, dots and things in the center, I make sure I'm coloring that. And again, I'm already kind of starting to feel this, if you're doing this hard enough, you'll feel it get waxy and kind of slippery. It does get a little hard to blend this out. You just have to kind of push hard. Once it gets waxy, you got to give it a little extra oomph to kind of blend that out. All right, so that's my dark in the middle. Now I'm going to switch and go to my medium and blend those 2 together. And I'm just, where it's white, I now blend. And I'm giving it good pressure because you will see that dark kind of smear a little bit. It almost like it mutes it and smears it. And that's what you want. You want that little bit of smear. And then you can always go back, and I already see like one I'm going to go back on just to kind of adjust a little bit. So you can kind of see on this one here, I have a little bit of a hard line. I'm gonna go back to my dark and just kind of jagged that out just a little bit. Now that it's already colored and waxy, I'm having to put a little extra pressure on that to throw that pencil down with some color. All right, so there's 3 petals. Again, outer edge light, inside and where it's dark and shadows underneath where the petals with shadow the darkest, then blend it in the middle with your medium. I'm gonna go ahead and color. I'm gonna throw this on high speed just so that you guys, this takes a little bit of coloring, and then we'll come back when I start to assemble and throw some greetings on this. Okay, so that is my corner piece that I cut out, colored with colored pencils. Again, feeling this, it is super smooth, shiny, and waxy. I think I broke 2 pencils on that one, but you want it this really waxy. It was the technique here that I was aiming for. If I zoom in, hopefully you can see on the couple things. On the yellow, I did 3 layers of yellow, but then I added a little orange on those dark pieces just to give it a little accent. Same with the orange ones over here. I did light orange, medium orange, but I did red in the center and blended and smeared that red out so I get kind of a burnt hot orange. Then the leaves, I did 2 colors of green, and then I colored over both greens with a yellow green, just to kind of smear and blend that out and give it a little highlight. And then the little pieces in the middle was the yellow green. So now let's go to the next phase of this. So now as you can see, when I layer this up, I'm gonna have a colored layer and a black and white layer. I'll show you the different options here at the end that I did. Again, creative freedom on this. If you wanted to color all this and pop it up and then color on color, I got one of those to show you. Do what you want with this. So now what we'll do is we're going to mat these and put a greeting on these on the card, and then we'll go from there. So for the matting, I did a full background mat. So on my A2 card base, I'm going to do the full front in black, lay this on top, and then we'll bump this up. So let's start laying some of this down. Let's see here. I thought I had a pre-cut black piece. All right, maybe not. Okay, so this is 5.5 by 4 1/4. We're gonna mat that onto this. That goes onto the card base. So let's get that glued together. All right, this then goes onto my card base, and then we will layer this up. This one, now I will layer another black piece to pop that up, and I'll put all the dimensions of all these pieces in the description, just so that you have what I used. But again, I used nesting dies just to make sure that this all layered. Whatever you have, you could do circles, you could do whatever cutout you wanted to make this work. All right. And when I did this, just testing this out, I really wanted some pop. So on this first layer, I did 2 dimensionals high. And then on the greeting layer, I just did 1 dimensional high. I just wanted this first one to really pop up off of this. All right, so now I'm gonna pop this up on dimensionals, layer it onto that. And I'm going to do 2 high on this one. So let's just get the backing off so they stick to each other. And I'd like to know if anybody's tried this, if anybody does coloring like this, if you just use GAMSOL. I just wasn't kind of feeling the GAMSOL. I didn't want this to be soft looking. I wanted this to be bright and jump off the page. I didn't want it to soften like a watercolor kind of thing and be too blendy. I wanted some dimension on this. Zinnias are super bright, and I didn't want to soften them down. So, but I'd like to know, put in the comments if you've done something like this without GAMSOL, what colored pencils maybe you use. Again, I'm just using Craola colored pencils. That's what I have. I have not invested in any more just because I don't color a lot. I'm trying, to force myself to get colored pencils and markers out more recently, just because I like the look. I watch everybody else's stuff and I really like the look, and I just want to try different things. But this was the result of, I've been doing GAMSOL. I got kind of sick of doing GAMSOL, so I thought I'm not going to use GAMSOL. I'm just going to color this really hard and see if I can blend like a alcohol marker. All right, I've done 2 dimensionals deep, and now I'm going to line this up. You can do however, if you want to go this direction, whichever you want. I've got examples to show you, but let me get this dropped on here so I can line this up. Pardon my head here, if you can see it. So there you go. I did color on black and white, and now I'm just going to put just a little greeting on this. I made a greeting on my Cricut that just says just a little note, like so. I just wanted a little simple little note, and I'm going to cut my layers out for this. I've got two black, one will be on underneath this, and then this will be in white. So let me just go to the side here. I'm going to cut these out really quick. Be right back. All right, so here's my greeting layers. Just two nesting dies that I cut out. Again, I made this greeting on my Cricut, just because I happen to be sitting there and I'm like, I'm gonna make some greetings for these cards. Anthony's Papercraft, he's got a stamp coming out with some vertical. He does have some greetings. So he's got a vertical coming out, I think within the next month or so when we do our launch of the next stamp sets coming out. All right, I'm gonna do one layer of these on this one. So again, this is my first video with as guest designer for Anthony's Papercraft. Definitely more to come. I've got a stash of stuff he's given me to work with. My goal here is to kind of look at these from a different light and kind of see what we can put together. So on this one, I have this opening this way. So I'm going to, I have a little tear there, so I'm just going to use this to cover up my little tear. Like so. And there is Stacy's Zinnea card. I'll zoom in here. I'm gonna go to my face camera that it's just a little bit better so we can kind of see these better, but this is the card. Again, super easy. I am telling you, this was like hardly any effort whatsoever. Put whatever greeting you want on this. I'm gonna go to my face cam and then zoom in on my samples here that I've got made too. So let's go back up to the cam. All right, let's take a look at these cards that I have made. So this is the one we just made here tonight. And let's see if I can get this to zoom in. There we go. Just a little note to say hello. Again, I did the corner of the small one in the colored pencils. Hopefully you can see some of that shading in there. And then the black and white behind. So this is what we just did. Here are some other variations. Same stamp, just slightly different. I colored the whole thing, then cut it out, and then put my greeting on. All these greetings I did in Cricut, so they kind of had the same style, same look, because I'm going to probably use these as a set. Again, you can see the shading in there, and this is super waxy and shiny. You can kind of see the shine on that. Get that to zoom. All right, here is a simple, just black and white. I took this one, cut out of the corner, and I just reversed it. So now it's almost like a little frame of flowers. Black and white, super easy. And then this one I thought, oh, I'm gonna throw a little pop of color on there. So I just had this little furry ribbon and just threw that in there as well, just as a little something different. Okay, this one's similar to what we did tonight. Black and white with the colored corner. This one I put So Grateful on it as like a thank you card. And then color on color, just flip the corners. And this one is just super bright. I like really cranked down on the pencils on this one. You can see that shine popping off of the surface there, so it's super waxy. And then put thank you on this one. So those are some variations with the Stacy Zinnea stamp. I will throw this up on the link for this stamp set. It's got two separate flowers as well. So a bigger one and a smaller one. you could use these as the under background and do like just grays and blacks, and then do a little something on the top with color. If you want to do the same kind of style. So, all right. That is my card for tonight. Hope you like it. Hope you try it. I'd love to hear if you try it, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you're like, I'd rather go back to my GAMSOL. That was just too much. I will tell you, after coloring these for a little while, because I was using a ton of pressure, like my hand kind of got sore. That tells you how hard I'm pressing just to get that effect that I wanted, just to see, right? So that's the first one for Anthony's Papercraft. I will put the link to his website. Go check his stuff out. Some really cool nature stuff and some scenes and barns and things. Next one I'm going to use his lighthouse one, and we're going to do some mixed media, I think, with it. So I appreciate you being here. Do me a huge follow and hit that like and subscribe button to my channel. Hit the bell and get notified when my next video uploads. And I appreciate you all. And I want to thank Anthony's Papercraft for having me as their guest designer this year. So we will definitely be having more of these to come. All right, until next time, I'll see you then.